Bringing news and serious reaction videos in the community and community updates. This is Reaction Moment.
Hello viewers, this is Wyatt Witry, bringing you a Reaction Moment special news update. Today is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. Today's top story, a new podcast, called Deep Dive, is launching as a secondary part of Reaction Moment, which is expected to air the first ever episode. Well, right after this news report. Our next top story, Yautja user Pablo the Great 575 has been found out to be a suicide promoter and a part of a drama clan that calls themselves the Loyal Provian Empire. Yeah, stupid name, I know, but that's just my guess. Now sit back and relax, and enjoy the first episode of Deep Dive. I know I will, especially with Natalie.
It's time for everyone's favorite podcast. Deep Dive with Joseph and Emily.
All right, so today we are diving into some serious online drama.
Oh, yeah?
We are talking YouTube feuds.
Yeah, the messiest.
The whole thing, accusations, insults.
I would love it.
Even suicide threats, all happening in the comment sections, community posts, so buckle up.
This is some raw stuff.
It really is.
You know, you'd think, like, with the internet, people would be a little more, like, detached.
Right.
But it gets so personal, and that really comes through in these sources.
Yeah, for sure. And the guy at the center of it all, this is Matt.
Okay.
And he runs this YouTube channel, Matt, the awesome guy, Blazy G4P.
I know him, yeah.
And Matt, throughout all of this, he keeps saying that he wants to stay neutral.
Right.
But he just keeps getting pulled back in.
Yeah.
It's like he's stuck in quicksand or something.
Well, that's the thing. He's not like engaging in it.
Right.
He's actively trying to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just keeps finding him.
Like trying to get out of the rain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's everywhere.
And from the beginning, he's getting labeled like a felon supporter.
I mean, how do you even come back from that?
It's just weird, you know?
It's so strange.
It's like this weird thing with online relationships where just by being associated, it's like you're endorsing.
Oh,
which isn't true at all.
Yeah. Guilt by association, classic.
The internet, yeah.
And you can tell he feels trapped by it.
Totally.
He calls out a few people specifically, like Alan, who uses the screen name Chocolate Eclair 1234.
Amazing.
It's incredible.
What a name.
And Pablo.
Okay.
They seem to be kind of like the main, I don't know.
Instigators.
Yeah, exactly.
The puppet masters.
He also mentions Nick, who seems to have his back, and then there's this Alex.
Right.
But it's unclear how they're involved.
Right. So you've got Matt in the middle.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay neutral. But then you've got these other players, each with their own thing.
Oh, for sure.
Just like
their own agenda.
Pulling him in every direction.
Yeah.
It's like he's the rope in this tug of war.
He is 100%. And you can just you can hear it in his voice in these videos.
Oh yeah.
He's getting worn down. Like in one video he even says he feels like hammered, you know?
Yeah.
Just constantly being bombarded with accusations and stuff.
Totally.
And then he says he's at a breaking point.
And that's the thing about all this, like these online feuds, it takes a toll.
It is.
Especially when you're already struggling.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just constant negativity.
Yeah.
Who wants to deal with that?
Nobody.
The pressure to pick a side, feeling like you're being attacked from all sides.
All the time, yeah.
It's got to be exhausting.
You can hear it in his voice, like he's desperate when he's like, leave me alone.
It's like this cry for empathy.
Yes.
Where there is none. No empathy online.
But instead of that understanding.
Right.
It just gets worse.
So much worse.
The insults, the name calling.
It's brutal.
Accusations coming out of nowhere. It's brutal.
And they're using technology to make it even worse.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, like that whole thing with Alan with the text-to-speech about Matt's deceased mother. I mean,
ugh, it's awful.
Who even does that?
That's cold, man.
It is.
Like you wanna get at the guy, fine.
Right.
But why bring the mom into it?
It's like he's trying to just hurt him as much as possible.
Yeah, and to use that robot voice.
Right.
It's so impersonal.
It's cold. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes it so much worse.
Just makes it worse.
It's a good reminder that, like,
Mm-hmm.
behind these usernames,
Yeah.
these are real people.
Real people with feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the whole thing explodes
Oh, yeah.
between Matt and Pablo.
This is it.
This is like the climax.
7
They were
years.
friends for 7 years.
Down the drain. Just gone.
It's unbelievable.
It's so sad.
It really is. And you can hear it in Matt's voice, the
And
pain,
betrayal.
the betrayal. When he talks about Pablo, he's like, he calls him immature, a drama queen,
Mm-hmm.
accuses him of like spreading lies,
It's for
trying to turn people against him.
It happens so fast.
It does.
Like, that's what's so crazy. It's so easy for things to just spiral.
Totally.
And then it's like, suddenly you hate the guy.
Right.
And you're putting all this stuff out there.
Yeah.
Even though you knew him for years.
Exactly. It's like bros before.
Yeah.
You know the rest
Yeah.
7 years down the drain.
It's crazy.
But really though, I mean,
Yeah.
what makes somebody turn on a friend like that?
I mean, that's the question, isn't it?
It is.
Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
It can get really blurry online.
Totally.
And for Matt, it's like
Yeah.
Pablo doesn't just cut ties. Like,
Right.
he goes nuclear.
You're talking about the suicide threat?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to even, like, I don't even know.
I don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah, this is where it's like,
Yeah.
it goes from just like online drama to like
Right.
real life
Serious
serious.
consequences, yeah.
And Matt actually plays the clip in one of his videos
Oh, wow.
where Pablo says,
Yeah.
"Kill yourself."
Oh my gosh.
And he even points out the exact phrasing.
Wow.
Like, it's chilling, man.
You can tell, like, Matt's just reeling from this.
Of course.
Especially after everything else that's happened.
It's a lot. And
It's awful.
I say that to anybody.
It's so messed up.
You would think that online it wouldn't have the same effect as if somebody said that to your face.
Right.
But it obviously does.
Totally.
It does.
Of course, words have power,
They do.
whether it's online or offline.
Yeah.
And it's not just Matt and Pablo. He mentions other names like Nasser, Mac, Willow.
It's like this ripple effect.
It is.
It's like you throw a rock in the water
Totally.
and the waves just keep going.
It pulls everybody in.
Everybody.
And speaking of pulling things in and just making it worse,
Yeah.
the text to speech thing
With
with his mom, I mean, I get it. You want to like use tech or whatever to win an argument,
right.
but to bring his mom into it, who's no longer with us,
Someone.
that's
It's just low.
just so messed up.
It's just mean.
It makes you think
Like, what are you doing?
what do you do? Are you really trying to hurt this person?
Yeah, just to win an argument online?
Right.
It's strange to me.
Yeah, it's like the internet just gives people
Permission
Yeah.
to just be awful
to say whatever they want.
because they're behind a screen.
Like they would never say that to somebody in person.
Never.
You know? And Matt, you can tell he's feeling it. Like he even says in one video he's pissed off and genuinely angry.
Of course, he's getting attacked.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
dealing with his own stuff.
Yeah.
His mental health.
And then you have on top of that all this stuff with these people.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
Awful.
It's easy to forget, like, there's a person on the other side of that screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's not just like some username.
Right.
This is a dude who's hurting, he's angry, he's confused.
And in Matt's case, he even says he's always afraid to open up online because he's worried people are going to use his past against him.
Which is exactly what Alan does.
It's unbelievable.
It's such a violation.
It is.
You know, when you're sharing things online, when you're vulnerable, you're trusting the people you're talking to.
For sure.
And that trust, it can be broken so easily.
Especially online where it feels like anything goes.
It's true.
Yeah.
And that's like the big takeaway here. Like, how do we exist in this space, this online world,
Right.
without like losing ourselves?
Losing our humanity, yeah.
Right, our humanity.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Going through all this for this deep dive, all these videos, all these posts, it's been
A lot, right.
it's been a lot, but you're right.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to, I don't know.
Being decent.
Yeah, being decent, being respectful, having empathy for other people,
It's not that hard.
and remembering that words have power, whether you're typing them or saying them to someone's face.
It's the same thing.
It's the same. And this whole thing with Matt and his friends, it's just like,
It's a mess.
it's a mess. It's like a case study in how bad it can get.
How quickly things can go wrong.
It's online. Yeah. It makes you think
Like, what's it going to take for people to wake up?
right?
To, like, take a step back
Yeah.
before they hit post?
Exactly. And think about what they're saying.
Just think
about the other person.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. Well, on that note, maybe
Maybe that's it.
that's it for this deep dive.
Yeah, to our listeners out there.
Yes.
Next time you're about to get into it with someone in the comments,
Take a breath.
take a breath, take a step back.
Log off.
Ask yourself, is this really worth it?
Is this who you want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Be kind to each other out there.
a little empathy can go a long way.
A long way.
And who knows, it might just save a friendship.
Or a life.
That's it for us. We'll see you next time.
Phone voicemail from Mitch Davidson.
Hello Joseph and Emily, I'd like to ask, what is your opinion on the 8-hour stream Matt made called We Need to Have a Serious Talk?
Okay, so are you ready for a wild ride? Because today we're diving headfirst into some seriously intense online drama.
Oh, yeah. This one's got it all.
Tangled relationships, shocking insults, even a deleted Discord server. You know, we love getting into the nitty-gritty of these complicated dynamics.
And what makes this deep dive even more fascinating is that it revolves around a community that often navigates the digital world a bit differently. The blind and low vision community.
Right.
Yeah, this adds a whole other layer of complexity to online interactions and conflicts.
Exactly. And this story comes straight from you, our amazing listeners. You sent us this wild transcript from a YouTuber who goes by the name Matt the Awesome Guy, also known as BlazyG4P,
Catchy!
right? He uses his channel to share his experiences as a blind individual, and in this particular video, things get really personal.
Yeah, it seems like Matt is really going through it, using his platform to call out what he sees as betrayal and bullying within this online community.
Yeah, and he doesn't hold back.
No, he does not. He names names.
Oh, yeah. He specifically calls out individuals like Dylan Silver and even his ex Melody.
It's messy.
It's like a digital soap opera.
Oh, man.
We're here to break it all down.
Love it.
So to give you some context, the transcript centers around the fallout for a Discord server being deleted. Matt is convinced that Dylan was involved, and he even plays a recording of their confrontation.
Ooh, juicy.
You can practically hear the anger and confusion in his voice.
And this is where those online identities come into play, right? Everyone in this transcript seems to have a nickname or an online persona, which can make it even harder to decipher intentions and separate genuine emotions from online posturing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's putting on a performance, which is something we see all the time online, right? Like how many times have we talked about that?
Constantly.
But in this case, the performance takes a dark turn. Matt plays recordings where he subjected to some truly shocking insults, people attacking his weight, even making hurtful comments about his deceased mother. It's rough to listen to.
It really makes you think what drives people to be so cruel, especially in an online setting, right?
It's awful.
Is it a power play?
Right.
A way to feel superior by tearing someone else down? Or could it be a form of projection where they're deflecting their own insecurities onto someone else?
And it's even more disturbing when you consider that Matt is part of the blind and low vision community.
Absolutely.
It adds a layer of vulnerability, making these attacks feel even more personal and targeted.
You're absolutely right. The blind and low vision community often relies heavily on online spaces for connection and support, so when conflicts arise, they can be amplified and even more isolating.
Exactly. And it's heartbreaking because you can hear the hurt in Matt's voice as he tries to process these attacks.
Yeah.
He talks about using his old flip phone as a way to escape the drama, almost like a digital detox.
Interesting.
But he also mentions recording all his conversations as evidence, which makes you wonder if he feels the need to constantly defend himself or prove what's happening.
That's a fascinating insight. It speaks to this desire for control and validation in a situation that feels incredibly chaotic and hurtful. By recording everything, he's creating a record, a way to document his experiences and maybe even protect himself from further harm.
Right. It's like he's trying to regain some sense of agency in a situation where he feels powerless. But it also hints at a deeper mistrust and anxiety. which is understandable given the circumstances.
Absolutely. And this is where those broader questions about online conflict resolution come into play.
Mhm.
How do we create safer spaces online, especially for vulnerable communities?
Right.
How do we encourage empathy and accountability when people feel emboldened to hide behind anonymous profiles?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But by unpacking this specific situation, we can start to understand the nuances and challenges of online interactions, particularly for someone like Matt, who navigates the digital world with a different perspective.
You've hit on a crucial point there. We have to remember that online spaces are not separate from the real world. They're extensions of our existing social structures and biases. And understanding how those dynamics play out in the context of the blind and low vision community is crucial to creating a more inclusive and respectful digital environment.
Yeah, and speaking of complicated dynamics, we haven't even gotten to the part about Matt's ex Melody and her involvement in all of this.
Oh, boy.
Buckle up, listeners, because this is where things get really messy. So we've talked about the deleted Discord server and some of those like really intense insults that Matt was dealing with.
Right. Really, really rough stuff.
But there's this whole other layer to this story that we need to unpack.
Oh, yeah.
His relationship with his ex Melody.
Melody seems to play a pretty significant role in this whole thing.
Oh yeah, she's like a central character in all of this drama.
And it really highlights just how complicated online relationships can be.
Oh, totally. Because like in person, you have all these other cues like body language and facial expressions to help you understand what someone's really saying.
Exactly. And tone of voice, too. Like, it's so easy to misinterpret tone in text messages and emails.
Right. Like, is that a playful jab or are they actually upset with me? Who knows?
Exactly. And for someone like Matt, who relies on screen readers and audio cues,
Right.
deciphering those nuances in online communication can be even more challenging.
It's like trying to understand a conversation through one of those like kids' toys with the string.
Yes,
Where
exactly.
it's like all muffled.
You're missing those subtle cues, those little things that can completely change the context of a conversation.
And things get especially messy when Melody's dad gets involved.
Oh, boy, family members.
Right. Matt plays these recordings where her dad is like straight up accusing him of harassing Melody
Oh,
and making some like really awful comments about Matt's weight and disability.
that's so out of line.
It's like, dude, you are throwing gasoline on a fire.
Seriously. It really makes you question those online boundaries and the role of family members in these conflicts. Like, when does concern become overstepping?
Right. And how does it all play out differently when it's happening online?
Exactly. Where those traditional boundaries get all blurry.
Yeah, it's like, how do you even navigate those family dynamics in a digital space?
Especially when emotions are already running high.
Right. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where those online insults and personal attacks like really take on a whole other level of cruelty.
Absolutely. It's one thing to be cruel to a stranger online, but when it involves family members, a parent even,
Right.
that adds this whole other layer of betrayal and hurt.
You can just hear the pain in Matt's voice as he's trying to defend himself.
Right. She keeps saying, I would never do anything to hurt Melody.
Right. But then again, we're only getting one side of the story.
Exactly. That's the thing about all of this. We're only seeing a fraction of the interactions, just the parts that Matt wants us to see.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with like half the pieces missing.
Right. And it's a good reminder that online narratives are often subjective and incomplete.
So then how do we as like outside observers even begin to figure out what's really going on?
Right. It's tough because we're always dealing with these online personas.
Like, are we seeing the real Melody, or is this just a carefully crafted version of herself that she's presenting online?
Exactly. And the same goes for Matt and Dylan and everyone else involved. It's all a performance.
And we're stuck in the audience trying to figure out who to believe.
And in this situation, with the added layers of family drama and the online harassment, it's even harder to separate reality from performance.
It's messy. It's all so messy. Like a car crash you can't look away from.
You want to understand what happened, who's at fault, but the more you delve into it, the more complicated it becomes.
It's the classic he said, she said.
Amplified by the internet.
Right. And the potential for things to just completely spiral out of control. This whole thing with Melody and her dad, it really makes you realize how quickly things can get out of hand online.
Absolutely. It's like 1 minute you're having a disagreement and the next thing you know, it's an all-out war.
And it's like impossible to escape.
Right. And that brings us back to Matt's coping mechanisms. Remember, he was talking about using his old flip phone.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to totally disconnect.
Right. It's like he's trying to find refuge in this like simpler form of communication.
Yeah, like a digital detox.
Exactly. And I get it. You know, when you're bombarded with so much negativity online, sometimes you just need to unplug.
Totally. And then there's the whole recording everything thing,
Right.
which I'll be honest. At first I was like, okay, that seems a little intense.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the more we've gotten into this transcript,
Mm-hmm.
the more I understand why he feels like he needs to document everything.
I agree. It's like he's gathering evidence,
Right.
creating a record of his experiences, almost like he's trying to validate his own feelings.
It's like, this is real. This is happening to me.
Exactly.
And I need to be able to prove it.
Because online interactions can be so fleeting,
Right.
they disappear into the void.
It's his word against theirs.
Exactly. And in a situation like this where he feels like he's being gaslighted and manipulated, those recordings become his way of regaining some control.
It's sad, though, because it speaks to this deep need for validation
Absolutely.
and a lack of trust.
And it makes you wonder how differently things might have played out if everyone had just taken a step back,
Right.
like paused before hitting that send button.
And like really thought about what they were saying.
Exactly. It all comes back to empathy and responsible online behavior.
Which unfortunately seems to be in short supply these days.
It really does. And, we've talked a lot about Matt's experiences, but we have to remember there are others who are going through similar situations.
Oh, many.
People who are being harassed, bullied, taken advantage of online.
Absolutely. And it's not okay.
It's not. And if you're out there listening and you're going through something similar, please know that you're not alone.
Right. There are resources available.
Yes, hotlines to call websites with information and support.
You don't have to go through this alone.
Exactly. Reach out, talk to someone, get the help that you need.
This has been a heavy one.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground today.
Discord drama, online relationships, family getting involved.
The challenges of navigating the digital world as a blind individual.
It's a lot to process.
It really is. But we hope that by unpacking the situation, we've given you some things to think about.
Right. Like, how can we all be more mindful of our online interactions?
Exactly. How can we create a more empathetic and supportive digital environment?
Because at the end of the day, we're all human.
We are.
We all deserve to feel safe and respected online.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder all of this.
Until next time.
This Reaction Moment news update and the first episode of Deep Dive was brought to you by...
The Science of Crime is back for another season. It's the show with boring men in sunglasses in very low lighting, spouting overly dramatic one-liners.
The question is, did he do it?
No. The question is, are you going to win or are you going to go home?
America is tuning in each week to The Science of Crime. We have no idea why, but we've spun it out into 15 identical shows. The Science of Crime Vice City, The Science of Crime Las Venturas, Ohio, Tuskegee, Djibouti, Fairbanks, Panama City, Santiago, and more. The Science of Crime. It's forensically boring.
Thank you for listening to Reaction Moment.